Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Rise podcast with me, your host, Katie Oman, women's empowerment coach, author, motivational speaker, and event organizer. I created these podcasts to really give a boost to all women everywhere and provide a real strong source of inspiration. I believe so much in the power of women and women's stories. They provide a roadmap for us to get out of the darkness. And so having these conversations just lights me up, and I hope that, in our own little way, we provide a bit of light for you as well. Today I have another amazing woman for you. I'm so happy that she said yes. It's Jennifer of Walderdorff, and I'm so excited that she's here. So Jennifer, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me.
Of course, and thank you so much for pronouncing my name to all the wonderful listeners out.
I did glance down for a second. I didn't want to, we spoke before we pressed record. I really, it's not a good start to a podcast if you say someone's name wrong, right?
But we're moving forwards.
Thank you. Absolutely. So, for those of you out there who don't know a lot about Jennifer or anything at all, why don't you start by telling us all about you and all the wonderful things that you do in the world?
Well, I really loved your introduction because I feel like there are so many women out there who are multi-hyphenates, as sometimes they're called. So we're all just not one thing. So for me, I work in the sustainable fashion industry and tech, but I'm also a speaker, a consultant on sustainable fashion and tech and more operational practices to get us there. And I'm also a mum, and that's one of my titles that I do like to add in there.
Absolutely. From one mother to another. I know it's trying to run a business and look after little children. It's definitely a challenge, but we know it's multitasking is fine.
Yes, but we get really good at it. I've definitely improved my juggling.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you get into the work that you do? I mean, sustainable fashion is really, I hate to say it's like a trend or a hot topic, but certainly it's something that we're becoming increasingly aware of. So how long have you been doing it for now?
So I've been working in the fashion industry itself for over 15 years. So
Right.
I've worked since day one. A lot of young girls do, boys as well, dressing up. But I didn't just stop at making beautiful things. I really wanted to know how they were made or where they came from. And I was that wonderful child that said, why? And so eventually I found a job that can give me all my whys. So I moved into, after a fairly long period of wanting to become a doctor, I moved into fashion merchandise planning as a career. And so I was in that for the majority, and then I upskilled in predictive analytics. So data science, a small area of it. And all my whys were in the data. I found out why was this X and this was Y in sterling. Why does this brand charge me this? Or why is this cotton bubbling? Why is this wool so terrible? What animal produces this? But it was just a beautiful industry where I could get all my analytical skills out and still have that love and passion for beautiful things and making things beautiful. So as much as that was great, the more answers you get to your whys, the more you start thinking, okay, that doesn't sound so ethical. So it got a point where my head and my heart were kind of conflicting. And so on the side, I was really doing my bit to understand, okay, if this brand is aligned with that strategy, maybe I don't want to be there. And I've kind of just been navigating myself through these wonderful international companies. I think my best role was Marks and Spencer because they do amazing things for sustainability. But it really just got me to a point where I was working with such large companies and all of my whys were kind of answered, that I thought, okay, I want to do something on the side and I want to do something for consumer. Because with the why, you don't just see how the product is made and what's offered, you also see the consumer behavior for what it is. So if you give someone €100 or pounds, you can't control what they buy, but you can definitely control what you offer. And it's that that union of of data that I absolutely love and still love. So that's what contributed to me writing my first book, and it's called Look at the Labels. And it's basically a shopping guide because you can't stop people from shopping. This I'm aware. And shopping doesn't mean new goods. Shopping can mean your mum's wardrobe, your basement, your charity store, the car boot sale. It can really be all these avenues of places you can shop in, and tapping into the consumer mindset. Why am I shopping? What am I looking for? What looks good on me? Do I know what looks good on me? What are my favorite colors? And are they in trends? Does that even matter? It's this lovely guide that's supposed to be like, I'm old school, isn't it? So that pop in your handbag
Yeah.
or your man's bag that you can actually take with you on the go. So that was the mindset behind it. It took me about 6 years to put together. So although I feel like I'm landing in the most trendiest time of sustainable fashion, it did start a little bit before then. So I guess it's more helpful to be in this boom when everything is published.
It's incredible. It's so, and that's the thing. I say this: every woman has a story. Like, show me a woman and show me her backstory and how she got to where she is. And what's very obvious is listening to you talk is how not only knowledgeable you are, but how passionate you are about the work that you do. Like, you found the thing, right? When everyone's trying to find the thing, I put a post on this morning about finding your purpose in life.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that you found your, the bit in the middle, which kind of lights you up. It's great. There must be, I would think, challenges with this at the moment. It's obviously it is becoming more consciously aware of our global footprint and our carbon footprint, which is great and long overdue. Certainly in my lifetime, we've been talking about it forever. But so in terms of that, it's kind of having these conversations probably feels slightly easier than it did in the past. But at the same time, you've then hit with this lovely cost of living crisis that we're in. So it seems to be a real, we talk about juxtaposition between people wanting to do their bit and make a difference, but then thinking about their money at the same time. And you finding that quite a challenge for a lot of people.
So I think I'm glad that you brought that up, because there is sometimes a misconception, because people think, and I won't name some brands' names unless I'm endorsing them because they're doing things, but not one brand can be one thing. So I mentioned Marks and Spencer, and it doesn't mean that they are 100% sustainable. They still have their own carbon. There are still things that they themselves want to clean up. So you can't see an entry price level company, retailer, or brand and think, oh, it's fast fashion, I won't shop there. It's not that easy, because then again, if you go down, and I do the boring stuff so you don't have to, but if you go down into the factories as to where products are made, in that factory, you could have products made by the entry level, but also products made for a mid-level or a luxury brand. And so to write off a certain brand and say, oh, they're doing terrible things, it's not necessarily the case. And it's difficult for the average person to be holding all this ridiculous knowledge in their head when they need to be concerned with getting their groceries and making sure their bills are paid on time. And so for me, I do find it hard, and I find the companies that are doing massively greenwashing tactics to say, we're not all bad, we are doing 90% recycled fabrics. And then the 10% is, I don't know, some garbage that put toxins in the water supply. It's really tough. And so yes, I find it harder to speak to like just someone who says, look, I want to do better. I don't know how, I don't know who to trust. Like just tell me what to do and I'll basically do it. And so in the book itself, again, it's not long, it's about 100 pages. It will give you a better idea of what things to look at. And it's as simple as looking at the care label inside.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes through also weeding through the marketing tactics on the Kimball label with all of this 90% recycled malarkey. So it's just nonsense, I would say. I don't usually say anything's nonsense, but sometimes I've seen it and I'm like, you cheeky. Like the one thing that I have to tell you this story, because the one thing that someone didn't believe me, on a tag, it said 100% recycled, but it was only referring to the cardboard tag that was attached to the item. Shocking, isn't it?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
That's
the
insane.
fine print that was written really small on the flip side at the bottom.
That's insane. Because again, the average person on the street, myself included, I would see that and go, oh, that's good. I'm doing my bit. I'm doing something good. I wouldn't even, like you say, we look at the label for what size is it? We hope that, it's a smaller slice than we are because it makes us feel good. And also, how much is it, right? They're the two things we were looking for. We're not looking for what's it made from, and sometimes not even how to bloody wash the thing. So it's like, not until you come to actually wash it. So having this knowledge, I think we always say knowledge is power, right? So having this wisdom and this knowledge means that you can ultimately make better decisions for yourself and the planet as a whole.
Exactly. And so for me, I'm trying to not put the pressure, I'm not in politics. I'm not saying, hey, change your policies, change your legislations. I'm really just saying, hey, if we all, it's one of those things where people say, if everybody in this city gave £1, how much money would you have? You'd be stinking rich. And so if everybody made slightly more conscious decisions when they did their shopping, if you don't ask for it, eventually the quantities, and this is from my merchandise planning background, the quantities will reduce. If they make something and they only get a 50% sell-through, they won't make 1,000 next season. They will have to reduce it because otherwise they're wasting money. They're polluting the environment if they burn it or give it away, or it ends up in landfill somewhere and leaches into our water again. It's just an endless horrid cycle. So the one thing companies don't want to do is lose money. So the way that we can combat the whole cycle of it is to really be more conscious with our shopping.
I see it all the time, and I so agree with you. It's like with the greenwashing thing, it's just drives me bananas, absolute bananas. But I do think consumers need to understand how much power they have. Like you say, our pound is the driving force, and everything shops do and brands do is to get to our pound. And so if we're not spending with them, they're going to say, okay, we need to make changes. And you really see it this year, especially. So they always have the sales on, like, oh, good Lord, there always seems to be a sale on somewhere. And yet the amount of stock in the sales section is insane because we've had a rubbish summer for the most part. They've now got all this overhaul, and all you can think of is where's that going to go? Because the people aren't buying it. So it's a worry. And I think that once we kind of really realize the power we have, I think we start to make changes. I know it's a slow process, but we have to start somewhere.
Exactly, and it is a slow process. It's not going to happen just in one season to the next. Oh, okay, produce 50% less, because you have to think about the lead times from when you have to put the orders into the factories themselves and how far in advance the factories themselves need to plan for their own staffing issues. So there is going to be a backlog. So whatever we do this year, we won't really see the knock-on effects for at least a couple of years more.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that, as you said, each person making a different decision will make an impact, and it really does. But I don't think also everybody is fully aware of the off-price market, and it has different names. But where you see something full price, great, maybe you want to spend your money on. I'm not sure the last time I spent something full price, but great. But then you put it in the sale and it still doesn't sell. There is the potential for them to put it into these off-price markets. So they're called secret sales, and they jazz it up and give you sometimes limited periods of time to panic buy things. So there's different marketing techniques that they themselves use, but it is an alternative way to get up to 70% off a brand that, knows your shape or fits you well or has the quality that you really like. So there is also that. But again, unfortunately, some of these companies have said, this is great, we can also make money. So then they may go straight to the factory and get things produced that go straight to this price. And
all this competition, isn't it? Always, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But the point of it, the reason why they did come about was to solve this overstock issue.
Yeah, it's so true. And I get it. I understand completely. Like I say, ultimately, they just want the stock gone. So they're going to, obviously, they have new stock coming in. So they're going to do what they can do to get rid of it. But it's always my ultimate fear, I suppose, because I try to be environmentally aware, I would say. We all have room for improvement, but I do try and do my bit, is that I don't want it to end in landfill because, like, kind of running out of room in landfill. So it's like we don't need more stuff that they're producing that people aren't buying just to put it in the hole in the ground. Do you know what I mean? So it is a concern, but like you say, we all have to do our bit to kind of try and change the ship and turn the ship around, even though it's really slow.
It's really slow. But yeah, we can all do our bit. And God bless my wonderful husband. Sometimes he will catch me in a little hyper, I don't know, after reading an article, and he'll be like, oh, well, you're reading? I'm like, well, I found out this new piece of and I'm doing something about like some new recycling center that I found.
It's
Yeah.
like, well, that's the thing though, you're passionate, and that's what it is. This is not just a job for you. This is not just a 9 to 5, take the money and go home. I know you can hear it. This is your life. This is your belief. This is your morals and values. And so
Yeah.
why would you? You're going to see something that sparks your interest. Of course you're going to be passionate about it. That's why you're so good at what you do, right? So it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sometimes I do wish, like, what if I just liked sports? Wouldn't this be?
I just think you seem to be a type of woman that throws herself into anything. So it's kind of like, even if you go, what if I just did this, or what if I just did that, you'd still be completely involved with it anyway.
I'm a bit scared that I conveyed that in like 15 minutes as well.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's not a bad thing. You know, I'm a multi-passionate person, obviously, so I don't see it as a bad thing. I think it's good. I do. Of course, doing all these interviews with women, I have to kind of ask you, what's it? And I try not to be sexist. I try not to do gender stereotypes. But what has been your experience of being a woman in the industry that you're in?
Honestly, I think in general, one of the most common themes is with entrepreneurs, they say, oh God, it's a lonely road. And so I would say that's definitely the case, because it's not so much that, because I'm always like, I'm not trying to do anything by myself. I'm like, hey, help me. If you can help me, help me. But I feel like, how can I put this? The way that women help each other, the way that men help each other, to be very stereotypical, I know you did say it, is very different. And from where I've grown up, if I can just be very specific with me, some of my male friends who are in business, they've got like crews, you know, they've got like their boys that they've known since they were 4, and they've all kind of come up together, like pulling each other up, you know, onto the shoulders and making this beautiful pyramid. But I found that that's not necessarily the case with females, and that you need to really be in a place where like-minded women are doing the same thing or doing the same agenda to get that ladder pulled down. And as I said, ain't too proud, I will ask for help. that's not always received. You know, I don't know how to say it. It's not always received so openly as the intention that I'm giving out.
Yeah.
It's not been an easy road, and especially if you said for a topic which is pretty popular, which is pretty trendy, I would have thought I would have had a road that had less obstacles in front of it. But it has been rocky. But I think once I've gotten over a few hurdles and got my momentum, and sometimes a no makes me want to do it even more, makes me want to prove them wrong even more. I felt like I've kind of steamrolled ahead. So
I love that. Well, I'm a huge believer that rejection is redirection, right? So it's almost like you're being, right? It's like you're being protected and kind of nudged on a different path. The other thing is that I don't really believe in the word failure. And I always say it with air quotes. I know I drive people mad, but I can't. Because I think it's all lessons. It's all learning. It's all taking us where we need to be. You know, I've been self-employed now officially 5 years. And it's a very steep path. But at the same time, I can't imagine myself working for somebody else now. It'd drive me insane. I'd be really rebellious. I couldn't do it. I'd be like, yeah, but I don't want to do it that way. They'd be like, well, that's the way we do it. Oh, well.
I hear you. No, I hear you. And I also agree with, I don't believe in failure, and I don't really believe in mistakes. I feel like everything is a lesson to be learned. And like, this is technically my second business, so my first one ended because I tried to do too much. You can see my enthusiasm. I tried to run it from a different country, and it was an e-commerce business. So how was that gonna work? So that's now dissolved. But of course, lessons learned. I learned so much way. And it was also a sustainable business, so it was more to customize your shoes rather than buying a new pair of shoes. So it was really in the advent of, I can't be wearing those shoes again. You just saw me that in my Facebook video. So you didn't want to be that girl, but then you added an adornment, and then they looked like a different pair of shoes. So that was really the But as I said, the lessons learned as to why I don't have it today is stick in the same country as you're stuck, and then customers will get the store will remain open.
Absolutely. No, it's great. I mean, like I say, it's 5 years, but unofficially it's been 13. And I've had many different incarnations in that time. And my business has shifted and changed. And my passions and my purpose have shifted and changed. And I think that we should allow ourselves to do that. You know, I realize now looking back that I've always, I've spiritual business originally. So my majority of my clients have been women, always have been. But to kind of niche down into it, but that doesn't mean I wasn't doing it before. I was just doing it a different way. And so I think once you find your purpose, it's then having that clarity to keep defining it and redefining it so that you get really to the heart of what it is that you're good at and what you really want to do. And that feels like that's basically what you've been doing this whole time.
Yeah, agreed. So I officially registered my company last year. And I do feel like, as you said, it's been iterations to kind of really hone my message so it's clear. Because I think I can talk a little bit. I like to talk. But yeah, just to say something, I like when something is concise, when the message is clear. And that's definitely what I've been doing. So yeah, iterating on it and yeah, just refining it has been great because I've really reflected in me and also more so on the problem. What problem am I trying to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, I do still worry about kind of the way that we're handling green issues, but there's a lot. I don't want to get into politics either, but obviously there's cause for concern, shall we say? Having had the conversation with you, I'm interested in your thoughts of A, where would you like us to go, and B, where do you think we're going? Because I don't necessarily think they're on the same page at the moment.
So I'll bring it back again to a slightly stiff topic, but definitely one that affects all of us, and that's the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And this is our target for 2030. So it's something that the UN came together and said, hey, we've got to do this. 17 goals, it's too lengthy. And basically the world, as we know it, said, okay, we all shook hands. We have a number of years now left to do it. And so in my very optimistic mind, the two have to be the same because we have to go where we have agreed we're all going to go. But it still remains the fact that not all of them can be quantified or measured in great quality and or accuracy. And as you can look at the calendar, time is a ticking. So yeah, I'm maybe childishly optimistic, but I do hope that they are the same destination, but how we get around them, again, if you split the world up into the different continents or countries, is going to be very different because we're all at a different starting point and we all have different agendas on the benefit to that country as to whether they achieve it on time or not. So if I just speak from a UK perspective, I do think this cost of living crisis it's a really sad state where we have got ourselves in. And if we look at the past 5 years, again, I won't go too deep into politics, but it's been a bit wild. So
that's the understatement of the year. Thank you very much. Get on the t-shirt. It's been a little bit wild.
I'm trying to keep my language on a PG level, to be honest.
You know what she really wants to say, but yes, we'll keep it PG.
Just in case. But yeah, so I blindly am optimistic that we're all heading the same place. And I do think that there are foundations, non-profits, but as well as government organizations which are linking themselves with these companies to achieve it. Because at this point, having good press is sometimes favored over the bottom line. Or if the two can be met without any casualties, then the two can coincide. But I do think it's in everybody's interest to try and achieve these goals, to do better, to not be seen as the one that flouted the rules and thought they knew better. But yeah, the route that they get there is, bumpy.
Interesting, shall we say?
Yeah.
Very interesting. And I do think that the next probably 5 to 10 years is going to be very interesting.
Yes.
Because I think people do have to make huge changes, so we're going to see whether these are actually going to happen. And I, like you, I try and be optimistic. I mean, it's my birthday, 2 weeks of recording this, and I'm going to be 42. And I have literally heard, I know, but I've heard this conversation my whole life.
Okay.
My whole life. I remember I used to watch Newsround on CBBC when I was younger, and talking about green issues and the ozone and climate change and all of this. And it always feels like, I mean, I know it's a big conversation, but it always feels like we're pushing it down to the next generation. Like, it's your problem. We messed it up. We can't fix it. You have a go. And I feel like we need to stop doing that. It's like we can't keep making it somebody else's problem. It's all of our problem. And it's something that we all need to take accountability for. And having somebody like you on this podcast is great, because it's this other big boost of, that's what I say, this boost of inspiration of going, come on. I mean, I like you, I never used to shop at charity shops when I was little, because it was naff, right? Like, ugh, even shop, get other people's clothes, ew, right? Now, I can't remember the last time I bought clothing from an actual store. I can't remember at all, because I've been very fortunate. My mum works at a charity shop, so literally, like, everything just comes in and it's secondhand. But that doesn't mean that it's terrible quality, because we wouldn't wear terrible quality. And you've got to be kind of mindful and decisive about what you're picking up. But you can get some great stuff. We got £150 coat for my son for 12 quid.
Wow.
I know, exactly. A big Nike coat for school. He loves it. So I think that for me, charity shops are now like, that's one way I feel like I'm not contributing to more kind of fast fashion, if you like.
Yeah. I love charity stores. And another tip that I'll give away for free is, almost everybody has a charity store in their neighborhood. But if they wanted something for a formal event, or something occasion wear, because occasion wear is an industry which bleeds a lot of.
So you just walk around the department stores and just look at the labels, and if you want to give yourself a little shock for the day, just look at the prices. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, and they're often, you can't wear them every day, can you? You can't wear a gown to the
I
office.
don't know, I can shop in Tesco in a ball gown. I reckon I'd rock it, right?
I would, but yeah, if you wanted to have something, a little bit more fabulous, then you can go to the Camden Towns, or you can go into the Central London branches. When I was actually young, I used to Google celebrities, with British ones like Kate Moss. I think I was like, oh, she's in Camden. Let me go to the Camden charity store, and I think I figured it out where she lived. Ish, Pete Doherty, that whole era of Amy Winehouse craziness. And I just went and I shopped in that area, because in my head, that's what they were giving it away that they wore on whatever TV show, and I would just, squeeze myself into these tiny clothes, or make mild adjustments. But there are different ways, like my local, which is Lewisham High Street. I love my Lewisham High Street. You'll get, everyday wear. This is something like for the kid, for school, for you, whatever. But if you do want, more elaborate things, then you can just change the postcode and maybe find a better selection there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of expand your mind when it comes to fashion. Expand your go-tos. There are other go-tos that will become your go-tos if you kind of look for them and look online. There are places now that will hire out formal wear. So that's the good thing. You can just borrow it basically, and then wear it. Don't get anything down with it, obviously, a dry cleaner, and then give it back. And it's like, there's always ways and means, but you've got to think a little outside the box, and definitely open to that. Because again, who's got the money to be going spending on like £200-300 on a dress that you're going to wear once and sits in the wardrobe?
Yeah. And the way you said, like, think outside the box, I'm just needing that box to get bigger for everyone. I need it to no longer be thinking outside of the box, but that's just the normal way of thinking.
Yeah, it becomes the new box that we're all in.
Not exactly. And another fact that I've read, I'm not sure on the source of it, but they say that women only wear 50% of the clothes that they own in their wardrobe. And so you think about your little dust collectors in there, that some of the things, either sure they don't fit, they're actually not your color, they were borrowed and never gave them back, but there's all these reasons. and there's all these avenues of where those clothes can go in a sustainable way. And I'm one of 6, so I have 6 siblings. I love them all dearly. Yeah, Catholic. Children. But I'm so lucky because I have 4 sisters, and I loved my hand-me-downs. Like, I kind of almost asked, oh, that looks a bit fitted. I'll have that. Like, I love the hand-me-downs because then I could make it into something new. And similarly, because I've worked in fashion my whole career, I would, get the samples and options, and I'd be like, there we go, sisters. Like, affordable samples that were otherwise, to be honest, I'm not sure where all the samples would go if they weren't bought. That's another conversation.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, and it's just like friends and family are one of the best resources that we all have. And I'm not sure if everyone has the stigma attached to saying, hey, I like that bag, you're not wearing it anymore. I do it all the time. My friends I'm like, hey, let's go to your wardrobe before we sit down and have a coffee. And they laugh. Yes, they do this laugh. And I'm like, well, if you're not wearing it.
Yeah, for sure. Didn't they used to, like, back in the day, like, have clothes swap parties and stuff? Like,
exactly.
This is a really good idea because, like you say, one woman's treasure would get trashed another woman's treasure. And so if you're not wearing it, rather than just, you give it to a charity shop if it's in good nick, yes. But if you want to just help your friends and your family out, have a clothes swap party. Because you never know what treasure you'll find from somebody else's wardrobe. I'm really lucky that my mom is a similar size to me and is really good fashion sense. So literally, this now not her wardrobe, it's our wardrobe.
I'm exactly the same. And some, like, God is good because she's actually 5 foot, but somehow with the dimensions, with me being 5'7", it matched up. And so all of the clothes just go on like a glove. So I'm somehow 7 inches taller, but the same frame as mother did.
Hey, if it works, right? I love it. So what's next for you personally? Where would you like to see yourself expanding as you move forward?
Exactly. So for me, because really sky is the limit, it's kind of twofold. So as I mentioned, that I'd love my book to be in everybody's bag as they're putting along. 2023. This needs to be adapted into an app. So I'm currently adapting it into an app that you can take along with you, and it can really just help coach you on, is this item in your realm of how sustainable you want to go? And everybody wants things to be personalized, so it really will be taking your decisions. I'm not wagging my fingers, this is sustainable, you must adhere to me, but very much you wanted to go this far, at least this is your realm.
Yeah.
So in development, I'm really, really excited. But also one of the biggest industries where there's a lot of wastage as well, as you would know, is children's wear. And there are many wonderful companies that are not only renting clothes for children, but are also just reselling reused clothing. And I want to put that more so on a platform. So that will also be included in the app, that you can say, oh, my kid needs some things. Here is a plethora of pre-loved or pre-worn or rented items that you can give your child if it's for a temporary or a long-term thing. So definitely attacking that children's wear market, and also having the handy look at the labels app when you want to go shopping.
Oh my God, I love that. Literally, as soon as she said app, I was like, yes, that makes so much sense. I love that. I so have that on my phone, because it would just, like you say, the world we live in with the tech and having everyone has the phone, it would just make it so much easier. Because you're like looking at it, like, I like it, but I don't. Hang on, app, and so then you could check, and then you'd be better informed decision. That's not to say if you then buy it and it's not sustainable, the police are going to come and like kick your door down. But at least you can say that you've made an informed decision, right?
Yes, because there are things in my wardrobe that are viscose and polyester, but sometimes I just said, well, that looks great on me and it makes me feel good, and this is the decision that I'm choosing. Like, everybody, no one's perfect, if I put it in that way. So yeah, it's just saying, okay, I'm making this decision. I have all the facts. Take my money.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I think that sounds so exciting, and I'm really happy that's coming to fruition. I think it's going to be so Jennifer, I knew this would be a good chat. Honestly, it's fascinating. I think we could easily talk for another hour, but maybe we should probably leave it there for now. But for everybody who has watched this and wants to find out more and wants to find out, how they can do their bit, where can we find out more about you? And obviously, I'll put all this information down here.
Perfect. So I don't know if I gave myself a good enough introduction at the beginning, but I am a speaker, so I am speaking at events as well to give more of this information to people, to let them know how it can be much easier than it's probably marketed towards them. So that will be found on my website, which is www.jenniferwalderdorff.com. Look up when I say. But of course, the spelling of which will be down below. Yes. And obviously my Instagram. So on my Instagram, I give mini blogs and tutorials in different areas of fashion, how you can do your bit. And that's at Jennifer_Walderdorff on Instagram.
Fabulous.
And it's TikTok and, well, X.
X, and it's still Twitter. I can't call it X. It's weird. It's Twitter. It always will be in my head. I'm old school. I can't help it. It's fabulous. So obviously, when we finish, go and check it out and go and get involved, because this is something, like I say, we all need to take accountability and responsibility. And I think you make it not boring. Now, I don't mean to be offensive when I say that, but it's like some of these people out here, no names, but it's like, it feels a little bit preachy after a while. And, there's so much to do on our to-do list in life as women that we don't want to feel like we're being kind of nagged. It's kind of because we're aware of it, but it's to make it so that it's engaging and it's something that we don't feel is like a burden. So I think having you at the forefront of this just makes sense, because you bring so much. You're knowledgeable, you have wisdom, but you also have a wonderful sense of humor. And I think that if you can be the face of this, I champion you every step of the way, honestly.
Thank you so much for that. That's lovely to hear, really.
Jennifer for Prime Minister. No, okay, that's not too far. I love it. That'd be fabulous. Fabulous, definitely. That could be a deputy. We'd change the world. It'd be great. Oh, she's not hold me to that. You are. That'd be the next flipping thing. Watch this space, I'm telling you. Oh, bless you. Jennifer, thank you so much, sweetheart. It's been such a great chat, and I really hope, like I say, that everybody who's watching this is going to get something out of it. So just thank you for giving me your time today. It's been fab.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. And thanks, guys, for watching the video. If you like this, please give me a little subscribe. I really appreciate it. And I will definitely see you on the next one. Lots of love. Bye.